Hi, City Manager David Illner here with things to know what's happening in El Dorado. Well, this past Monday, the new City Commission took the oath of office and took their seats for their upcoming terms. The new City Commission includes Commissioner Kelly Tetrick, Commissioner Leon Leachman, and Mayor Bill Young will serve another 2-year term on the City Commission. After the Commission took their oaths of office, they proceeded to begin with various items of business that were before the Commission, including the selection of a Vice Mayor. Commissioner Wilkinson was selected to serve as Vice Mayor, and she will do so in the absence of Mayor Bill Young if he's unable to serve at any point during the year. Other business items the City Commission took action on included approving a grant proposal to FEMA's BRIC program. BRIC stands for Building Resilient Infrastructure in Our Communities, and the project that the city submitted was a flood mitigation program that, if selected, will allow the city to take $750,000 and acquire various properties to reduce the city's risk and private property owners' risk in terms of flooding. Another thing that the Commission took action on was approving the city's participation in the state's process for the National Opioid Settlement. As you may be aware, the opioid crisis continues to ravage North America. And as part of that process, numerous state governments have sued distributors and pharmaceutical companies to get relief to help with the national opioid crisis. The City Commission also had to take action to amend the 2021 budget. Now, just to be clear, this is a technical process that we sometimes have to do because we end up spending more than we originally budgeted. Why does this happen? Well, the city budgets or does its budget process a year and a half in advance of when we actually spend the money. So when we put together our budget, we are putting together a good estimate for what we think we're going to bring in terms of revenues and what we're going to spend in expenses. The challenge with that is sometimes we end up spending more than we originally planned. In this case, the city actually had to amend one fund, the Economic Development Sales Tax Fund. Now, this fund, we generally bring in $150,000 to utilize for various economic development projects. But in this past year, we spent more than that $150,000 because the Commission approved participation in the downtown undergrounding project. But it's okay because that fund actually had what we call a fund balance, meaning that we basically had some funds set aside for a special project. But because we didn't know that we were going to do that in August of the prior year, we didn't budget to do so. So the Commission had to go back and conduct a public hearing and then amend the budget to give the city the authority to spend from its fund balance. The last thing that the City Commission did on Monday was approve the city's legislative agenda for its federal and state legislative sessions. This is important because it allows us to communicate some of the legislative priorities that the city has at the federal and at the state levels. Some of these include things like the use of El Dorado Lake, how we are going to address our lake debt, and also some local issues such as addressing or making it more equitable from a taxing standpoint, because the city of El Dorado, as a member of Butler County, is fortunate enough to have a community college, but many of our counties do not have a community college and so do not have the community college tax levy. So we would advocate for an opportunity to equalize that so that the community college experience and costs are balanced or spread across the state as opposed to just being paid by those counties that actually have the community colleges in their community. Among those things and several other things, you can actually download our federal and state legislative agenda if you're curious to see what it says. It'll be on the city's website on the city manager's page, and that will give you an idea of kind of what those legislative priorities are for the city. It also provides the city an opportunity to communicate those priorities to our federal and state elected officials so that as things come up throughout the session, they have a general idea of how the city would respond to that. And then as specific items come up, we definitely get in contact with our state and local elected officials to communicate our thoughts on those specific things and how it will affect not only the city's operations, but also how it would impact our citizens. So it's important for that information to be shared so that everyone kind of knows what we're thinking and how we're advocating on behalf of the organization and on behalf of our citizens. One opportunity that I'd like to share with everyone is if you are experiencing some difficulty with your water and wastewater bills, or you know someone who is, there is an opportunity for you to get some relief. If you go to the the Kansas Department of Children and Families, they have a program called the Emergency Water Assistance Program that is providing $9 million of utilities relief throughout the state of Kansas. In order to participate in the program, you again have to go to the Department of Children and Families and apply. I believe it's a very simple process. You fill out their application, and then they will get directly in contact with the city to get some relief to people that qualify for that program. You do not apply through the city of El Dorado. The city has done what it needs to do to participate in the program and receive funds, but individuals do have to go to the Department of Children and Families in order to apply. Now we're going to talk a little bit about water leaks and how you can identify them as we enter the winter. We see a lot of increased water leaks, and unfortunately if you have a water leak during these months, that's going to make your sewer averaging go up. So we want to make sure that everyone kind of understands Water Leaks 101 and can identify them and get them addressed so they can keep their sewer average from affecting their water bills for the next several months. So let's take a trip. Okay, so one place you can find water leaks in your house is in the restroom. So in order to track down if your toilet's leaking, there's a couple things you can do. You can first of all listen to see if the toilet's actually running. In this case, it's not. And the second thing you can do, if you think there's a slow leak in your toilet, all you have to do is remove the top cover on the bowl, or the tank rather, on the tank, and you can put either some food coloring, or I'm told a cheap option, if you don't have some food coloring around the house, is to put some Kool-Aid powder right there in the bowl or the tank of your toilet, and then preferably at night when no one's using the toilet, and then in the morning, lift your lid up and check to see if the water is not the crystal clear that it normally is. If it's red or green or blue or whatever color you put in, chances are you probably have a water leak in your toilet. And you might need to get your inside of the tank replaced or tightened up, or you might need to get something else looked at. Another place in the household that can create or generate a water leak is, of course, the kitchen sink, or really any sink that's in your household. As you can see, this one here has a slow drip going on, and you might think, well, that's perfectly fine, but in fact, a slow drip over a period of time will generate a lot of water that will actually contribute to your water bill and your sewer average. So the first thing is figure out if you can actually just shut that off. And if you can't, then it might need to be tightened up somewhere around the faucet. Another place you can check is right under here under the sink. Make sure that there's nothing dripping or there's no puddle of water that would lead you to believe that there's a leak. And if so, again, you might need to tighten something up or get that looked at by a plumber. So another place you might find a water leak in your house if you have a outdoor irrigation system is in your yard. So to find this leak, all you got to do is kind of walk around your sprinkler system and kind of see if you can find a spot that looks and feels more like a marsh than your yard. If you're sinking in or you feel a sloshy, then chances are you probably have a water leak. Thing is, if you have a water leak in your yard, it's probably going to require you to call some assistance and get it looked at by a plumber that can actually fix it. Because it's underground, it might require some digging, so don't dig on your own. Make sure you call someone that can do that and call Dig Safe before you dig. So if you think you have a water leak, again, check your toilets, check your sinks, check your outdoor irrigation, really check anywhere that water flows. And then ultimately, we don't want to waste water, even though we have an abundant supply from El Dorado Lake. And we find that sometimes or often water leaks will happen during the colder months, which can be a big mess for all those involved. So check your water systems, make sure they're working functionally, and if you need to do some tightening on that, and that'll help you save some money, and it'll keep your system functioning well into the future. Those are all the things I got for this week on Things to Know. We'll see you next week. Have a great one.